We're just going to talk a little bit about what I think God is saying and what I'm learning about what it means to be a team player as a man. We've been in a series where we're looking at the marks of manhood, and being a team player is absolutely one of them. Brian said it this way: men are team players, boys always play for the MVP. And we're going to talk about what that means for a guy, because I really believe if we miss this, we miss out on greatness as a man. Jesus talked about this a lot. In fact, there was an interaction he had with his 12 closest friends where they were really power tripping. They were acting like boys, and they were jockeying for the best and favorite position in the kingdom. And Jesus uses that moment to give a corrective, not just on what it means to follow Jesus, but I believe a corrective on what it means to be a man when he says this. In Mark 10, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them." He's saying power in the world always works that way. It's always, if you have the power, you lord it over people. But Jesus said, but it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus is giving here a corrective definition of men being team players. And what he wants us to see is that men elevate their game by sacrificing for the team. Boys don't do that. Men elevate their game by sacrificing for the team. He said, if you want to be great, then this is what you do. And he didn't just teach this, he modeled it. In this same setting, Jesus was going to get down on his knees in a few moments and do what only the lowliest slave should do, which is wash the grimy feet of all of his friends. And not only that, but a couple days from this point, he would hang on a cross and he would sacrifice his very life for those that he came to save. And so I've been learning about this idea of elevating my game through sacrifice really in my family. My family, I consider my family a team. It's my number one team. I'm a part of a lot of teams, but my family, Team Mingo, is the number one team I'm a part of. And God has been redefining sacrifice for me, and this is the definition that I'm working with now. Sacrifice is giving up a personal win for a team victory. Whenever you give up a personal win that you could have, comfort, convenience, success, whatever it is, whenever you can have it, but that's what you're giving up for the purposes of the team, that's what it means to be a sacrificial team player. And I've been learning about that. And I would say, as it relates to my family, while I always probably gave lip service to serving my family, God's been teaching me how I've really been a boy in many ways, and he's had me on a journey for several years, and kids help with that journey significantly on what it means to be a man who actually sacrifices for the team. And as I walk away from boyish tendencies and lean into sacrificing for Team Mingo, it is elevating my game in three specific ways. First, sacrificing makes me notice. Sacrificing makes me notice. You know, real men, they know the condition of their teammates. A good husband doesn't need someone else to tell them that their wife is struggling and she needs a break. They get it, they see it, and they respond to it. A good dad doesn't try to treat all of their kids the same way and have their kids bend to their comfort, but they recognize that each of their kids has an individual bent and certain personality types, and they meet the kid where they are. Real men know that about their kids. They meet their kids where they are. They know their teammates. I mean, anybody, think about it. If you've been managed well in a work environment, I promise you that manager didn't use a cookie-cutter approach for every person on the team. They knew how to individualize the approach. They treated people differently based on learning styles. They treated people differently based on performance. And you appreciated that about that manager. Real men notice. Sacrificing helps you to notice. So it's been raising my game to notice, but the other thing is sacrifice makes me ask. And that really raises my game, because if I'm honest, I am not the best person at noticing things. I wish I was more observant. I mean, I look at some husbands who just notice every little difference about their wife, and I'm like, man, I wish I was like that. I hate those guys, but I wish I was like that. I mean, like, I just don't have that gift. I was the dude that when we first got married, my wife would go to the hairdresser, get her hair done, get her eyebrows done. It'd take me like a week before I was like, did you do something different to your hair? Like, I can ask a simple question. It's amazing to me as I read through the scriptures, I see Jesus, who I think is the consummate team player, asking a simple question. We find it in Mark 10:36, among other places. What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? Simple question, brilliant question, because it takes out all the guesswork. Sacrifice is elevating my game because it's making me notice and it's making me ask the simple question. But here's the other thing. It is making me look ahead. It's making me look ahead, because if you regularly sacrifice for a team, you come to points where you say, why am I doing this again? This is hard. Why am I doing this again? And it's an incredible opportunity in that moment to have a bigger vision for your life. We talked about every man has a bigger vision for his life. And I tell you what, as I've been sacrificing regularly for my family, I realize I am not doing this just for the next year. My vision is bigger than the next year. Let me tell you, I am playing for generations of my family. I'm trying to change the story of my family for generations to come. Here's my vision for my family. My vision is to raise a family where everybody loves Jesus and loves each other. And because of that, because of the unique ways that we are gifted, we can love the world and change the world. That's what I want for my family. I'm playing for a day I will never see, where there are mingos that are still loving Jesus, loving each other, having babies, and making a difference in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's what I'm playing for. I'm playing for a time I will never see. And it helps me because sacrifice forces me to look ahead and say, man, in the moment, sacrifice is always inconvenient. But man, when I play for the long term, all of a sudden, it changes the game. It elevates my game. But here's what I think. I think sacrifice can do for you what it's done for me. I think that's why Jesus calls us to it. Because Jesus is not anti-greatness, men. Let me just talk to the men for a second. He is not anti-greatness. Look at what he says. He says, if you want to be great, whoever would be great among you must be your servant. And whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. Jesus is actually pro-greatness. He's anti-selfishness because selfish men never become great men. And Jesus wants greatness for you, men. And so, men, I just want to invite you to come to Jesus and ask for the grace to be the new man who sacrifices for the team, who notices things that great men notice, who asks simple questions, and who sees and plays for a bigger game because he has grace for you and he wants you to be that kind of man.